Excellent question. I don't know. I was just excited because there are so many styles that are being presented here that I had heard of. A few of them I have studied academically, but not seen visually. So I'm just totally excited to come because all of them are just fascinating to me, and because I'm writing right now about the Grima and its relationship to Spanish, the timing couldn't have been better. So this is just great. So I just knew this was going to be fruitful, and already from day one, I'm thinking about revisions in my manuscript because of what I'm learning. At the moment, I'm just enjoying meeting people. So there's a lot of people that I've heard about, like Anthony DeLonga. I read about him when I was, young. I mean, he's one of those guys like, like in the magazines and stuff, and it's like, wow, to meet him, and he's such an amazing guy. Yeah, I'm just loving meeting these people who I've known about their existence, but I've never met them. So. Well, we've only had one session before my session, and I was already surprised. So with the North African, the matrak material, I was very taken by how similar a lot of the structures are to the structures in some of the reformed Grima styles. So I was like, oh, that's very similar. It was the footwork was very different, but the positions were like strikingly similar. The historical significance is, for me, it is really about coming to a more nuanced assessment of the influence of Spanish sword fighting. Because especially in, I'm writing about Grima, and there are three styles of Grima that claim to come from the Spanish sword fighting tradition. So, it'll be interesting for me. Like I said, we've only had one session so far. I'm hoping that I'll walk away with a much more nuanced view of the influence of the Spanish, and I think it's much. I think when we look at the range of the styles that are going to be presented, we're going to see not is it Spanish, yes or no. We're going to see a spectrum, and we're going to see that some styles are more influenced, let's say, positively by the Spanish than others, and some negatively. When I say negatively, meaning they changed something in their own art. They didn't adopt anything from the Spanish, but the Spanish challenged them in a way that forced them to evolve their art in a way to counteract Spanish techniques. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so some people kind of taking what the Spanish did and adopting it and kind of mimicking or adopt, and some in the opposite direction. And so I think that even with those both directions, there's going to be arts across that spectrum. Okay, yeah, and again, since we've only had one session, my main takeaway so far is I'm going to have to. I just realized that I need to. I have been thinking about Spanish influence in terms of techniques and tactics, but just talking to people just made me realize that I need to think about principles and expand and it's different because you could talk analytically about tactics and techniques from a book, like, you know, I mean, just kind of like without having, without a
Very-
corporal knowledge.
Mhm.
But once you kind of understand something like in your body, then you can start to understand, okay, the principles that I'm employing here are
Physical.
what are these principles? And so I'm definitely gonna have to take another level of analysis to this whole thing. So that's. My only feedback would be, my suggestion would be, for old guys like me to have more time for sleep. Because if we finish at 10, that means we're getting back to our hotels 10:30 if we don't talk to anybody, but of course we're going to talk to people.
Yeah.
So that means we talk for half an hour, getting to our hotels at 11, which means maybe taking a shower and getting in bed 11:30, and then to get up at 5 to be back here at 6. This is, I realized already in the first session, I was like, I have to pace myself because there's not enough time to sleep, to recover, to go all in on 3 full sessions. So what I would suggest is either have it end at 9 and keep it started at 7 and end at 9, or start later. There's just got to be more time for sleep. Like, I know Mahipal is a monster, and like he will just go, and if he needs to, he'll go and go. But I think there's enough of us here that, like, you're a young buck, so you couldn't.
4 hours.
Yeah, you can get away with 4 hours. When I was in high school and college, I could pull all-nighters. Can't anymore. Takes a toll. So for us old guys, just more time for sleep. So either ending earlier, and even if that means that the sessions,
maybe distributing them over,
or they could be shorter. I think some of the sessions, I mean, I would have been happy to teach my session 2.5 hours instead of 3.5. I think people's attention span, it's hard to do full in for 3 hours. I mean, some of these guys, Dexter, and some of these guys are just,
Dexter.
just like Energizer bunnies.
Yeah, for sure.
And just going on all through. But I know for those of you who don't have that, constitution, I think slightly shorter sessions. Obviously, leave room for sessions for thumbs that are more technical, and there's got to be more steps. But for some of them, I think it could be slightly shorter, just so we could have maybe Mahipal could just make a list, like, this art needs more time, so let's give them a 3.5 hour slot. But some arts could be a little bit shorter. And I think that everybody then would have, if we have more sleep, then we could come in and bring more the next day. That would be my suggestion.